Welcome to the Show Up Dad, where we explore fatherhood and share insights to support dads in being present in their families' lives. I'm your host, David Mendonca. Today we have a special guest, but before we start, I want to thank our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Tallman Equipment, your go-to source for quality tools and equipment in the power line industry. Visit tallmanequipment.com to see their great offerings. I also want to give a shout out to the Show Up Dad Foundation, who are dedicated to helping fathers become more engaged in their families through workshops, community, and support. To learn more about their mission, visit the showupdadfoundation.org. Well, today, guys, I have a special guest. His name is Derrick McClintock. He's 39 years old. He's truly an inspiring story that he wants to share with us today. He has been engaged to the love of his life for 11 years, and together they are proud parents of 3 beautiful daughters, along with their daughter from a high school relationship. Derrick is not just a devoted family man. He's a talented general contractor and custom home builder, bringing dreams to life through his work. But that's not all. He's also an ex-professional motocross rider, demonstrating his adventurous spirit and determination. Perhaps most remarkably is Derrick is a recovering drug addict who has been clean and sober for almost 10 years. His journey has led him to become heavily involved in his church community, where he passionately helps others find freedom from addiction. Derrick is also dedicated to guiding the new generation of boys in discovering their manhood in a nurturing, Jesus-like manner. Join us as Derrick shares his incredible journey of resilience, faith, and commitment to uplift others. So let's dive in, guys. Derrick, thank you for being on the show, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me.
For sure, man. Well, you have quite an incredible journey, Derrick. And I want you to just, if you don't mind me asking, just have you take us through your story, brother. Better understand you.
So I grew up with 2 parents, which when you're a kid, you think that that's all you need, like that. From the outside, I guess I thought my parents were great parents and were doing, they were doing the best that they can. Now that I'm older and I'm a parent, I can see that I've done differently and things that needed to be done differently, especially with boys. I have a brother. I have a little brother. He's 4 years younger than me. I think that, it started out, we raced dirt bikes from age 3, till we're grown adults. We didn't really put a lot of focus into school. We didn't put a lot of focus into anything but dirt bikes and maybe soccer or some sports that my dad thought that we were. My dad wanted us to race motocross. My mom wanted us to play soccer. So it was like we're going to do one of those things, and that's all we were planning on doing, when we got older. And, my brother figured it out younger than me that motocross wasn't probably the best decision, and he just quit randomly. And he was better than me, man. He was, for his age group, winning everything that he touched, and every race he entered was winning everything. And there's guys that were the big names now that he was just smoking them, just smoking, like way more talent.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that had to force the talent. I didn't have the talent, but I had to force I trained way harder and worked way harder and just, had to do all the hard work to get where I was. But I thought I wanted it more or whatever. Well, so like I said, we didn't have a lot of social skills and stuff like that. We went to school, but we were leaving all the time. We were traveling all the time, doing stuff for racing and hanging out with older people that were maybe not the best influences on us, other pro motocross riders that back in that time, in that era, was a little bit wasn't as professional as it is today. And our role models were just, some guys that we were stuck with on the road, So, and then you start getting hurt at a young age on a dirt bike. It's inevitable. It's not if, it's when. And, you get on painkillers at 7 years old, and then you're just, every year you're on painkillers because you break something. Every year you're getting hurt no matter what, Then next thing you know, you're in, middle school and you're taking pills out of the medicine cabinet because you think that's what you're supposed to do because, that's, you just are, so it's a normal thing to do already, and then,
Yeah.
And then, if you have, my mom was a flight attendant, so she was not really around too much. So we just hung out with dad and, I love my dad, but he's the product of his environment, just like I am, and it's that generational curse was not broken, with him. It was, he fixed some stuff that his dad did wrong, but he didn't fix it all, you know what I mean? And, those things came into us and we, started running amok real young and just we had the adrenaline problems already because we're motocross guys and, we did, karate. We did a lot of very just, excitement sports, things that just, get your heart going real crazy and surf, big waves, just, anything that we could get our hands on that would be like, make you feel crazy, that's
Yeah.
we were into it, just jumping BMX, whatever it was, we just did it to the max, full addiction style, complete psycho, whatever, jackass style stuff. And that just led me into high school already with that mentality that I'm like some gnarly guy or whatever, you know what I mean? And then I just stopped going to high school. I just never went. I just started riding dirt bikes and freestyle kind of became a thing. Like our motocross industry took a turn because of like Custom Demon the Dirt and all these movies that were coming out back then that were like influencing kids to party and do tricks on their dirt bikes and hang out with women and do all, it wasn't a professional sport anymore. It was like a party sport that was easy money to go throw, easy tricks that, the risk was way less racing. You're not like competing at that high of a level,
Mhm.
and it went into a party sport, like 2002, 2003 was like people started throwing, Supermans and all these dumb tricks that just, you could get paid $4,000 to show up to a monster truck show and do a couple tricks for 20 minutes and then you're at the after party, and that's it. That was a lifestyle. So, I was like freshly out of high school I should have been freshly out of high school in 2003, but I never made it that far. I just went and did the party moto thing and I started having a lot of problems, getting in trouble and even not making it to shows, not making it to, events and just losing relationships with friends and girlfriends and all those things are just, doing things the way that God designed us to do them. Was filled with the enemy, I was filled with anger, I was filled with, just all these things that these thoughts telling me that I wasn't good enough and everything that their enemy can attack you with, I was getting attacked with it full blown. I always just felt like I had to prove something or whatever. So I would just go bigger and bigger and just keep getting in more trouble and more trouble. And eventually I just got to where I got hurt bad enough to where I was on like, oxycontins and stuff like that basically full time, not knowing there's other ways to live. I just, even when the doctors would cut me off, I'd just go get more, from another guy on the street that, and then that turns into, that was like there was a big time where it was definitely an epidemic, especially in California, but all over the United States where doctors were just feeding, opioids to just anyone that wanted them. And we were going to 3, 4 doctors at a time to get, 100 pills from each doctor and just do whatever we could do to get through our disease of addiction, this thing that we're battling. Eventually that got cut off and I went into hanging out with, you learn which kind of people to hang out with to get those things that you need and you end up going down even deeper, into a deeper hole. Mine led me to heroin and meth and cocaine all in the syringe and just, hanging out with very, very shady people that are definitely not out to help you, and,
Yeah.
um, the dark times continued for a long time. It wasn't fun. It was never fun. Even when I was doing it in the beginning, it wasn't fun. It was just to get by,
Mhm.
Then, I started getting in trouble, like going to jail a lot, cause the drugs that I had were now illegal, and
Yeah.
the people that I was with were not reliable. Just the associations I had were, just hanging out in the worst place you could be in. I had somewhere in there, around 2000, let's see, he was born in 2000, 2006. My first daughter was born in 2006, and that's right when I was probably as deep as you could get into the whole drug scene, you know?
Yeah.
And the girl, her mom, you know, was a really good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. We co-parent pretty good and, you know, things like that. But at the time, she was like, you're going down a dark path and there's no wrangling me back, you know? So we just cut it off and we parented separately. And, you know, I tried to be as, as available as I could. I was available physically a lot, but not mentally, not emotionally, not spiritually for my daughter.
Yeah.
Definitely made that relationship, um, you know, very damaged.
Yeah.
I definitely have had a lot of years to figure out that, you know, he thought it was normal, just like I did when you're a kid. You think that your parents are normal and that's normal, and, you know, whatever that relationship that you have is normal. But, you know, now, you know, he had to see a lot of things. He never saw anything that was that like bad. He just saw me in a bad state a lot. Never like
Yeah.
unconscious or anything like really, you know, but just not a normal human being. He's zombied out. You know,
Yeah.
he grew up with that, and that is definitely something that has made me over the years change, which then eternally made me even use more drugs. I think because I just didn't know how to do what I was doing. Knowing that I was like hurting her and hurting her mom and hurting my family and all these things eventually just led me even darker, deeper. You know, I lost a lot of friends along the way. I mean, like 90% of my friends that I grew up with that used drugs with me are either in prison for life or dead. So, you know, I have just like a million dark stories,
Mm.
but you know, I think that like those some reason God kept me safe and kept me. You know, I'm healthy as it gets. You know, I don't understand how. You know, I don't understand it, but there He has a purpose for me, and I you know, it's crazy is like even in the darkest times, I knew that He had a purpose for me, and I was just waiting for that, you know, something to click for me to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I need to do this. This is to, you know, I need to stop being selfish and whatever. And then finally, just one day, I was sick and tired of being super sick and tired. You know, like just the drugs had ran me down. Sick of going to jail. Sick of losing my cars every time you go to jail. Sick of losing your house. Sick of losing your girlfriend. Sick of, you know, just everything is not. It's the definition of insanity, right? We just kept doing the same thing with expecting a different result. Where I just did it so many times where I just got so fed up that I finally hit my knees, you know, actually got on my knees and cried to God, you know, like, please save me, please do something, help me. And I didn't even know why I was doing it. I just
Yeah.
was done, you know, I just needed it to change. And even after that, I still messed up here and there. I would get like 6 years and then, you know, and then I made a mistake and hung out with the wrong people and did something I just like the enemy got in my head and into my ears and I just did it, you know, did it one night, whatever, you know, just messed up a couple times. And those were things that, because I wasn't connected with God the way that I should have been, you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't using the tools that He was giving me. I was ignoring a lot of the things that the signs that He was putting in my life. I wasn't listening. I didn't know how
Hmm.
to listen yet. I just was talking about this the other day actually because I didn't know how to build a. You hear everyone like the greatest relationship with God, all this stuff, and I'm like, I know who He is, but I don't know how to talk to Him. I don't know how to build a relationship with Him. You know, I didn't know how to like incorporate those things into my life where I could hear Him, or where I could feel Him, or like even allow the Holy Spirit to fill me. You know, I was
Hmm.
like riding white knuckling it, like don't let the Holy Spirit in all the way yet. You're not, you know, you're not worthy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And those are things that I grew up feeling that way with my dad. It was never good enough and all these things. And those are the things that caused me to shun God. Like I wasn't good enough for God. It was me turning my back on Him. I knew, you know, like the whole time that I was good enough. I was His creation, that I was His son, but I just couldn't, you know, validate myself that I'm, you know, a good enough person to be His son.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like it was just like one out of nowhere. One day I felt like I did enough work on myself. I did the steps in AA, or I actually did the steps. I tried the steps in AA multiple times, and I couldn't get through the full steps honestly for some reason. I just wasn't being asked the right questions. And then I tried NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, and I tried their step working guide, which is kind of new. A lot of people didn't have this opportunity to use this step working guide, but if there's people out there, this is, even if you go to AA, try and do the steps out of its NA step working guide, because it is so legit. The questions that it asks you are
Uh-huh.
what you need to hear for those questions to register in your head. And you'd be like, oh, that's why my mom was like that, or I was like that because of my mom, or what, those things that you're like, you didn't even realize that you had a bad parent, or you didn't realize that you had a bad experience. Like, that's something I left out. Here's a big part of my story. So I had a babysitter when I was a kid. I was 7 years old.
Mhm.
7 to 9, that was this babysitter, my neighbor. She's a 16-year-old to 18-year-old because she's been the 3 years or whatever. And she was teaching me how to have sex. But I didn't realize that I'm being molested because this is a girl teaching me, when I was 7 to 9 years old. So, but I didn't realize. I justified it, for years and years and years till I was 30. And
Yeah.
then 30, I realized that that's why I had treated my mom a certain way. That's why I treated women in general a certain way. I treated them like objects. I ran through women like there's no reason for them to be on earth,
Yeah.
and I treated them horrible, and I, I just didn't see why those things were happening until one day I finally was like, yeah, I guess that's wrong, and
Yeah.
it took like a lot out of me to like realize that that was wrong, like it just, for some reason, wasn't registering that that was wrong. And when I finally did the step work, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I have a reason right there that that was one of the reasons why I like did this and this and this and all these things that I was doing that, made me into who I am today. And I think that's why AA and NA is so good, because you don't, people that, most people don't have an outlet to like even talk about those things, or even especially like put them, air your dirty laundry in a public thing, room with a bunch of people in it. You don't
Yeah.
have to do that there, but it makes you comfortable enough to do it after you do the step. Like I could talk to you about, whatever I've done. I'm not
Yeah.
feeling guilty about it. I feel okay about where I'm at and what I did. And I know God forgives me for all the sins, and and I'm just, I had to move forward, and,
Yeah.
I think that's why those platforms work so good. I
Mhm.
just wish that, they incorporated God more, you know.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm trying to do now, is show people that you can take it to another level. Like you can recover in AA, in NA. And I've been going to AA since for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been in those meetings. I couldn't even tell you how many meetings. I used to go to meetings every day. Sometimes I went twice a day. Sometimes I went 3 times a day. If I was really feeling, messed up, I was going a ton. And then I would get a couple years clean, and I would mess up again. I just wouldn't. I'd stop going, thinking I'm cured and all these things, like whatever. But that's because I never found the next thing. The next thing is God.
Yes.
The next, like the actual cure. There is a cure for drug addiction. It is God. God can
Yes.
heal you, 100% heal you. Take your obsession, just take all that weight off your shoulders. He'll lift it. He'll break the curse. It's a curse. You're just cursed. God will lift that curse, and He'll throw it to the pits of hell, and it's gone. And you'll never have to deal with it again. It doesn't mean you can go drink or use again.
Yeah.
It just means that you don't have to feel the pain from all the things you did while all the things that drug or alcohol has caused you. You don't ever have to feel that craving or any of those things ever again.
Mhm.
It's like the obsession is lifted, you know,
Yeah.
and AA can get the obsession lifted, but it doesn't keep you spiritually growing. and
Mm-hmm.
you can plateau at 12 steps, right? And then you could do your steps again and even get a little better because you got a little deeper, but you still, if you take God out of the equation, you're only going to get so good.
Yeah.
The 12 steps were actually written out of the book of James. So it's like James's perspective on Jesus. Yeah, James's perspective on Jesus is to become that man, you need to do these 12 things, right? Like that's how you become like Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, they don't tell these people that anymore because their theory is that if you're brand new, it was true for me. If you're brand new and you have 0 days sober and you come in and they're like, God, and you have no connection with God, which most likely you don't have a connection with God if you just came off the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That will freak them out and they'll just run back out.
Yeah.
So their theory is to just not talk about God, call your higher power,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm cool with that. But when you don't get honest about it at the end, like in the meeting, like I should go in meetings now and I Bible thump the crap out of them. It's kind of crazy because you're not supposed to, but people don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
They just go, they're very accepting. They do agree, most of the time they agree. Sometimes you get a grumpy old timer that's like against God and doesn't want you to say that, but whatever, So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that has made me like, now it's like my life mission because
Yeah.
I know I tried it for 10 years with no God in the equation. Like I said it was God, but I didn't like build the relationship with God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once I built the relationship with God, I didn't need the AA anymore. My friends are still my friends in AA, and I still check in at meetings and take my tips there and stuff, but I'm not like a daily AA guy anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to be at AA every day. I can
Mm-hmm.
focus on spending time with my kids. Because I see people there that have 30 years that don't have God in their life, and they go to meetings every single day. They don't talk to their kids. They're not spending quality time with their kids. They're not, you know what I mean? They're just like,
Yep.
I go to a meeting every day because I use drugs every day, so I'm gonna go to a meeting every day. That's kind of what they preach.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to do that if you can get to do your 12 steps. That then 13th step should be find God, find a real God, find Jesus. That's what it should
Yeah.
say. Find Jesus and figure out how to speak to him, you know,
Amen.
and that's it. And your life's great. It
Mm.
only gets better and better from there. But,
No, I agree with you 100%, brother. Once you start taking God out of the equation, you have all kinds of stuff that there's no power behind. You see that in our schools. Once they
totally.
started taking God out of the Pledge of Allegiance and all this stuff, I mean, we're at where we're at today because of the removal of God, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't take a blind person to see that, right?
Yeah.
It's God is the center and creator of all things, whether you believe it or not, it's true.
Yep.
And there's power behind it. Like you said, there's no transformation until you surrender to his obedience. And God, like you said, wants a relationship with you. He yearns for you. That's why we were created, is to be in relation. The proven fact behind that is, the scientific fact, I should say, is that as human beings, we crave relation. The one of the most critical punishments they can do to us is put us in solitary confinement, because they know that has such a detriment on our psyche when we're separated from people. And that's exactly what the enemy tries to do with us. He gets us to feel shame. You don't want to talk to anybody else because, man, I'm so screwed up. And you start getting this conviction on you, this condemnation, not conviction, condemnation on you. You're not good enough, all this stuff. See, these people don't want to hang out with you. And he keeps putting these little thoughts, these little seeds in your head until they grow over time. And then the fruit that comes out of that is rotten.
Exactly.
It is absolutely rotten. And now you can't even go and talk to anybody. And what's the end result? We got guys killing themselves left and right.
Yeah.
Because they have no one to talk to, because they believed in a lie that was planted in them,
I agree 100%. I mean, that's the enemy's whole plan is to twist your brain so you can't handle it anymore. Just claim one more soul.
Mm-hmm.
This could sound way out there, but it's actually what I believe now. When I was really out there, way, way out there, spun out on drugs, whatever, you can actually see the demons in the smoke of the drug.
Yep.
They're literally, if you take a picture, um, of the smoke that you're blowing out when you take a rip out of a pipe, you can see demons' faces in the picture if you zoom in.
Yep.
And I have the goosebumps right now because this is the truth. This is how the enemy gets in, okay? The enemy is in the smoke. So I don't care what you're doing, whether it's tobacco, weed, whatever, it could be the most harmless thing you think in the world. It's so worldly, accepted now that everything's legal and all this stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
that, even alcohol, man, you drink too much alcohol, they're in there too. I 100% believe it. And that you're letting them in. So you could
Mm-hmm.
fully anoint yourself. You could be fully cleansed. You could be fully, just pure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could just be in contact with somebody who smokes. I call it getting fly. You could just be like next to someone who's smoking weed, and you could breathe that demon in, and you let your guard down because you're right there and you're just breathing that smoke in,
Mm-hmm.
It's 100%. I know it's proven to me, 100% proven to me because I go to concerts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people there that are filled with evil that
Yeah.
you get their sweat on you, and that demon just climbs in you, and I feel it the next day. I have to repent that next morning just
Mm-hmm.
for touching that person. I feel it. I know in my heart and my soul. I have to hit my knees as soon as I get home and cleanse myself so I don't bring it into my home with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
because if I don't, the next week I'm struggling with old issues that I had. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Whether it be lust or some weird, whatever it is, it's something that the enemy gets these little pops in my head that, because I got slimed at Disneyland. It's all over. It's everywhere I go. I mean, anywhere with crowds of people,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere where there's drugs being done or anything like that. Even talk sometimes praying for a homeless man. Like you could get just slimed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's real. It's real. The demons can just jump out of, and manifest in you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a real thing.
I agree with you 100%, Derek. I first witnessed that when my wife and I were chosen to be leaders at a church as a marriage deal, right? And it was a Marriage on the Rocks, it was called. Anyhow, I didn't know what I know now. And when we're going there, like before, we were like, oh my God, our marriage is a ministry. We're going to be able to witness to people and stuff like that. But just being there, and like you said, that slime, dude, there was such a negative presence. And this is at church, but those people were carrying so much baggage, whether it be adultery, pornography, hatred, unforgiveness, all these things that they were carrying, because you could be a Christian and still be oppressed,
Oh yeah.
not possessed, but oppressed. And that's what you're talking about, that weight, that heaviness.
Yep.
And they're carrying all these things, and they get on you. They attach to you. So I had to talk to me and my wife started fighting like crazy, man. We're going through some tough times. And one of the things a pastor, a good friend of mine who sits on our board, tells me, he's like, David, whenever you go to those things, don't bring them home with you. Pray over your wife, pray over yourself, pray over your car. Don't allow those things, because you're going to bring that into your home with you. They like to attach,
Exactly.
And they do. I mean, it's crazy that you said about the smoke. I agree with you 100%, because when I see these things, I see them like soot, like coming out of like a real black soot that's dark, but you see them, right?
Exactly.
I always see them out of the corner of my eye whenever I go into someone's house.
Totally.
Attached to people. I've seen them attached to certain people,
Yeah.
And my dad used to see them when he was grieving. That's another thing.
Yeah.
We lost my younger brother, and he was in so much grief. He kept on thinking he was seeing that the house is on fire. He kept thinking that he saw soot, right? And I was like, Dad, that's a demon.
Yeah.
And then we had to pray over him and cleanse the house and stuff like that, because whenever you allow that grief to come in, science has already proven it that we have a life force, right? Energy that surrounds us, that keeps us, pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Solid. When that energy is drained through sadness, through drugs, through whatever, right? Anything that drains that energy down, we're more susceptible to an attack from these things. And drugs, when you're staying up for, 6 days straight, that life force, that energy is down. Your spirit that's inside you is down.
Yeah.
And these things are like parasites, and they attach to you and they feed off of you until you're drained. And the only end is to commit suicide.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad.
Yeah. Yep. I 100%. I've that's why I was saying, I mean, I've been awake for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the demon. I mean, I saw him before I got that crazy, but I have physically had conversations and seen and been mentally connected with these things. And just, I actually used to feed off them. That's the crazy part. I felt like I was feeding off them. Like I was like, it was like I said, I used to get adrenaline thing, I picked off these weird, just try to always, that was like my thing growing up, just trying to get adrenaline junkie, just out of my mind. And I would get like excited about being like, okay, I've been awake this long. Now I'm like I'm connected to this dark side or whatever, but that's how I, like, now I see them. I've always seen them. I'm a seer too. It's the same thing. When I was like, I think before, when I think I was maybe 6 or 5, I couldn't sleep in my bed anymore because I was seeing so many things, and I would sleep on, my parents would let me sleep in their room, so I slept on my floor with my head looking out the door at their bedroom, just so I could like have a clear path to run down the hallway if like something was going to get me. You know, but this was like at 6 years old or something, and I would see the craziest thing, and it was just, it didn't make any sense back then, but now I like can think back at like the things I was seeing, and I was like, man, I wish I just could have, like, if somebody had the knowledge that I have right now, and I could have just met that person and talked to them about it. Because my parents were like, yeah, right. Like they just, like, you're okay, not, they just never, they didn't believe in the spiritual warfare. I don't even think, and that,
Probably
they were like
scared them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. They were like the Christians that just never got on fire. They're just cruising, and they're still that way. I try every day to try and get them on fire, and they just, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Like but if, I wish that there, at the time when I was a little boy, that I could have met my older self that knew what my younger self was going through, because I would have told them it's actually a blessing. Like it's actually a blessing to be able to see somebody what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like that, I'll just keep flicking them off people at not very fun, like praying over them. Well, they don't even know I'm pushing my baby around in the stroller, just praying over them, telling them demons to beat it.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's awesome. One of the things that I've noticed, because I had to go to AA too a long time ago when I was in the military, and one of the things I saw that was with them is forgiveness. How big has forgiveness played in your life? I know it's a commandment, and I know that it's 6 of the most powerful words in the English language is, I was wrong, please forgive me. So it plays a big part. How did it play a big part for you?
For me, it's actually pretty crazy because it's like reversed for me, because I've been like my whole life the most forgiving person ever. I like can never hold a grudge,
Yeah.
And I've just like let people walk all over me, steal from me, whatever, and I've never like reacted, never like went after them. I've done bad things to other people, but like it wasn't because they did something bad to me, or like nothing like that. I've always been very forgiving. But what I had to learn for forgiveness is that I need to be forgiven, like to feel okay. Like I felt like I needed to be forgiven by all the people that I hurt, or but my biggest one, like I said, was God. I just felt like God, like, how can you forgive me? Like I knew He was there, and I just denied Him, for so long.
Yeah.
So that forgiveness is definitely for me. Like I do see, there's people in my life that struggle with forgiving people, and I actually feel really bad for them, because it's something that I've never had to deal with, but I can feel their pain, know that it's hard to like let things go, and I don't know. I'm blessed in that department for sure,
Yeah. It's one of the hardest things you could possibly do. One of the things that I work with when I work with men, because I'm a pastor myself, when I find out that there's a root of unforgiveness, right? Because there's always a reason behind things. It's not that they're addicted to porn. These are just symptoms, right? Or they're addicted to alcohol or drugs. Those are just symptoms from a root. So we always try to get to the root of the problem. And a lot of it is unforgiveness, whether it be unforgiveness for a father who never showed up for them, never encouraged them, or even a mother who would always belittle their father in front of them, you know what I mean? And now this kid, grows up thinking that men are bad. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be a man too, Dad. And you're being a man hater. So it's very confusing, right? So we have to walk them through the steps of forgiveness, but it actually boils down to an act of the will is what I tell them, right? You have to be willing to do this, right? You have to be willing to do things. First, pray and ask God for the strength to obey and forgive, right? And we need that strength every day because on myself, I'm glad I'm not God because I am a very vengeful person. If someone hurts me, I want to get them back, right? Yeah. That's just me. It's not right. That is sin nature. That's my sin nature that God is changing every day through this life we called sanctification, right?
Totally.
And with that being aware, I have to ask God for forgiveness and I have to ask him for his grace to change my heart. Totally. When you confess that, that's where the transformation, the miracle happens. If not, God will not do by miracle what he's commanded you to do by obedience. Totally. And that's the truth. And that's why you see a lot of believers out there who have given up on, they call it religion. I call it relationship, right? But they've given up on God because they feel that God didn't do what they thought God needed to do for them. And it's clearly in his book, right? What you need to do. And it's by obedience. It even talks about where before you go to the altar with your sacrifices, right? If you have something against somebody, leave your sacrifice right there and go ask for forgiveness from that person.
Exactly.
It is imperative that we do that.
Yeah.
And think about it. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and wanting the other person to die.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? You're holding on to that grudge and bitterness and all that stuff, and it's just killing you.
Yep.
I mean, I watch people that walk around with unforgiveness and I will never forgive and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, my gosh, do you have any idea the bondage you are in right now? They got all kinds of sicknesses, diseases. There's so many different things that they've proven that unforgiveness causes in your health,
Yeah, totally. I believe it's poison.
It's poison.
Yeah. I think that's probably why, like I said before, I'm pretty dang healthy. I don't know. I've never been able to hold a grudge. I don't know why. I just can't see it. It doesn't do me any better.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me in any way. So it actually just makes I'll be mad for a couple of days.
Yeah.
If somebody does something real bad, I just can't, I would see him in a couple of days and be like, hey man, I'm sorry. Whatever. I'll probably be apologizing to them even though they hurt me. You know what I mean? That's just who I am, But I have never also had, somebody kill one of my kids or rape anyone. I don't know. I don't know how I'd act in those situations. I know there's people that deal with that kind of pain and that's, I don't know that I couldn't go on some killing spree after that. I really don't know that I'm equipped for that, but I also don't know. It's never happened.
Yeah.
So I got 4 daughters. So I'm just praying to, that nothing like that ever happens in my life,
Yeah, so, for sure. Speaking of your 4 daughters, you talked about your oldest. She's around my daughter's age, so that would make her 18, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How is that relationship now? Have you tried to reconciliate with that and all
totally.
that?
Yeah, we talk, we see each other. She's definitely not in my life as much as I wish she was, but she's also 18. So, she's living her life the way she wants to live it. And she lives with her mom, and her mom doesn't really have the same guidelines in parenting anymore as I do. So I've had to just take a step back and just pray for them and pray for her to come back. And, she's kind of going through some of the similar stuff that I probably had to go through at 18, just finding her way and stuff like that. But You know,
Mhm.
she knows that her dad loves her and that I'm here for her. And she knows we have a great relationship, but we don't have the relationship that I want. You know,
Yeah.
she loves me. I love her. We see each other frequently, not as frequently as I'd like, but
Yeah.
she's a teenage girl. So I heard they go away and then they come back. So we'll see.
Yeah. They say prodigal son, but I think it's prodigal daughter.
For sure, for
Right.
sure. Yeah,
The good thing is though is that the effective prayer of a fervent man avails much, and
yeah,
I know you're on your knees, brother. That's the most powerful place you could possibly be as a man of God, just praying and praying for that protection over your daughter, and that she'll come to the saving grace of our Lord Jesus Christ.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the most powerful thing a father can pray for our kids. And live
totally.
by example.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
You know.
that's definitely with her. I have two younger daughters that are 7 and 8 that they've never been in public school.
Hmm.
They just read this year right now, like a month ago or whatever. They just started going to actual public school for the first time. We're trying it out. God just did some drafty things in my life that made me. We were going to put them in this expensive Christian school, this private school, and then somehow my bank account went dry for right until the day of sign up,
Hmm.
like till the day after I could sign up. And I'm like, I guess he just took that off the table for us. You know what I mean? So like, I just had trouble collecting checks for some reason for no, like out of nowhere, which normally doesn't really happen. And my wife really wanted him to go to this school, and we fought about it and fought about it. And I was like, look, I'm praying about it. If it happens, it happens. If not, then it doesn't happen. We ended
Yeah.
up having to put him in public school, and we don't know why that happened, but it happened. And so now on the way to school every day, we pray together, for heads of protection, for guardian warrior angels to guide them through the day and make sure that and we just pray that they can help somebody at that school, you know,
Yes.
anybody there's so many kids there's a lot of kids there that go to church with us. So I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, hang out with them. And if any of these kids start being, a certain way, then just pray for them or help them and, find God. Or if they don't know God, tell them about God, you know?
Yeah.
And, my daughters love going to church and Sunday school. So it's like, I know they're doing justice there at school. I know they're doing righteous things. So I'm very excited about them being able to like just be able to be in like a regular setting. And they always are asking about it when they wanted to know about school for they're always curious and they actually are enjoying it. So I'm like, okay, well maybe this is where they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
and I try and I warn them about certain things, that's going on in the school systems. Luckily
Mhm.
our school system, the school that they're at is a very small school in our bubble of what we believe. There's
Yeah.
definitely kids there that aren't, the same as us, but there's a lot of kids that are, that are
Yeah.
my friends' kids and stuff. And it's a neighborhood that I grew up in. So I know all the parents, like we kind of like all talk about what's going on at the school and we have to all approve whatever's going on. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a good situation, I think. I think that they're going to feel more normal, that, they're not going to feel like out. I think one of my daughters felt like she was like having trouble making friends because
Yeah.
they don't go to school and they don't, they only know kids from ballet or soccer.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great move. Honestly, we have this conversation all the time. Send your kids to public schools and or private schools, and I'm like, yeah, if you could afford it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go with it,
Yeah.
right? The thing that I have the argument with them is, okay, just because you send them to private Christian schools does not negate what God has called you to do as head of household.
Exactly.
You still have to train up your children in the admonition and fear of the Lord. That is your responsibility. Because a lot of times fathers think we're going to send them to Sunday school, we're going to send them to private Christian school, and I don't got to do anything.
Yeah.
And that is wrong. That is a lie from the pit of hell. You
Yeah.
still are in charge of those children to train them up. They say that the home is the ultimate training ground, right? For both the parents and for your children.
Yeah.
That's where they learn how to be successful human beings, how they deal with their emotions, right? With a father. If you can't regulate your emotions, dude, what do you think they're seeing? What do you think they're going to emulate?
Exactly.
right? That's part of that self-control we need to teach them. That's part of the fruit of the Spirit,
Yeah.
right? When you're abiding in Christ, like you said, having that
Yep.
relationship. Those are
Exactly.
all fruits, and we have to show our children that. We have to show that our God is real, and we can't depend on the church and Christian schools to do that. That has to be shown at home.
Yeah.
We can use that as another tool to reinforce what they're learning at home, but it
Totally.
should never be the primary. It should be the secondary,
Exactly.
if that makes sense. So
Totally.
I
Yeah, I
applaud you,
mean,
man.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to do all the things that I didn't, I went to a Christian school, but it wasn't a
Yep.
good one. It was one that, I think everyone got sent there as a discipline, you know what I mean? At least the kids that were there they weren't good kids. And, I wanted to like make sure that my kids feel like they fit in, but I want them to also know that they, have authority in Christ so that like
Yeah.
somebody's going through something, they can be like, hey, let me help you out, like,
Yeah.
and they don't have to be scared, So like, I think the things that my parents didn't, we didn't go out to, when we were out to dinner, with pennies or whatever, we weren't like praying before we ate,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, well, that's something that I need to change. Like my kids need to pray before we eat. Like, I don't care who's watching,
Yeah.
and, I don't care who hears me talk about deliverance or some crazy stuff, whatever. If people hear me and they think I'm crazy, then that's whatever. And that's how I try and teach my kids. Like, you can say whatever you want. As long as it's righteous, what it's something out of the Bible that God said or God did, you know what I mean? And righteous, you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that, in the beginning of parenting, I wasn't practicing these things, and my life like, wasn't feeling like there was just something missing. I felt for a long time, actually, here's the real truth. I believed in Jesus. I wanted the relationship with Jesus, and I built one a little bit, but I wasn't going to church because I felt like all the churches that I went to, I was being judged because I looked like a criminal. And, I just was like, hey, I just can't find that community, that church community that I want, And then I like we ended up just finding the church. We ended up finding a church, that we were like, okay, the message was for us when we walked in. We felt welcome. And then I'm actually judging these people instead of them judging me. That's how I felt. I was like, okay, I'm the one, you know what I mean? That's what made me like stay going there. And then now we go to like multiple churches, I don't see like myself just going to one church. We're going to, like, my friends starting a new church. We go there for the grand opening. We go, a couple times a year to some other church and just kind of like just float around and just, there's so many people. I go to church to fish for men,
Mm.
like I go to church to fish for men. I don't care what they do for work. I don't care, what, I just want to know. I just want to like find somebody who's on fire
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, okay, I'm going to add you into my daily, you know, like somebody I'm talking to every day. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because a lot of, I just feel like a whole church isn't going to be on fire. You know what I mean? Unless there's like
Yeah.
12 people there and they all have the same invasive style,
Yeah.
ideals, But, like I could find something wrong with every church and I could find stuff I love with every, you know what I mean? So like I try to not go in there and judge. I just try and float around and just be like, okay, well, I have friends over here and friends over there. And,
Mm-hmm.
just try and like, you know, be a good influence on everybody that I meet at those places. And then same time, like I said, pick for men that like, hey, this is a good guy that I'm going to invite him to a Bible study. And if he shows up, then like he's doing what God's telling him to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a guy that I just met, he invited me to his church and we were just, it's crazy because we hit it. We were supposed to meet for work. This is like the craziest story ever because a mutual friend that doesn't go to church with either of us just introduced us. He's like, hey, this guy's a flooring contractor. You guys need to meet. You guys are in the same industry. You can work together, whatever. I was like, cool. So I meet him for a business meeting. We didn't even talk business. It was as soon as we met, we had the craziest connection. God told us to speak to each other about God and parenting and our church community and like everything that was going on in our lives with God. And I mean, this guy is, is on fire. He's on like, and I don't normally meet people that I'm like impressed with when it comes
Yeah.
to like where they're at spiritually. You know what I mean? I'm usually like, like for some reason I feel like I kind of have a little ego. Like I'm advanced on this guy. Like I just feel like I should be training. I should teach this guy what I know, and if he listens, then he will be on fire. You know what I mean? But this guy,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I can't get enough of this guy. I got to hear what he has to say, which is crazy for me. Like to feel that way. Like I just feel like I'm drawn to hear what he has to say. And it turned out that he is just like at the same exact spot in life as me, but came
Yeah.
from a different background. Like didn't have the drug problems or anything else. Just had like just different problems. Like he had problems with, women and other stuff. You know what I mean? That like, you know, I had the
Yeah.
same problems, but not, he was just more stuck in that and I was stuck in my, but
Yeah.
it all turned out to where we connected so heavily. We didn't talk about work. We sat there at the Sagel place for 3 hours just talking about God, and talking about what God's doing in our lives and all these miracles that are happening around us and that we're seeing all these things. And those are the types of things that like now I look more forward to that in life and like how this guy can teach me to be a better me or how I can help him be a better him just by like our perspective on what God's doing in each other's lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then like God linked us to like their church. I know guys at his church that like I surf with or whatever. And it's too crazy of a story to even like tell you how it linked, but he's like, wait, you know this guy? And then we're like, I'm friends with that guy. And then it just turned into this crazy thing
Mm-hmm.
that like, it was a miracle that we met. And then now we have like business ventures going and all these other things that are going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're opening like multiple churches in my area and now I'm going to help with that. Trying to, my ministry is definitely, I don't want to be a pastor for sure. That's not in me, but I want to minister to people that have similar backgrounds as me, and like
Yeah, for
have the
sure.
same demons went through them as they went through me, So he's helping me link that just like you are, the same thing. I'm just trying to reach out to
Yeah.
people now because that's what my calling is. That's what God's put on my heart to share with other people is just, how anybody, if I can make it out of those dark depths, anyone can. Because
Yeah.
like I said, I've been to the deepest, darkest pit of hell and I've crawled all the way out, you know? God led me out for a reason, And I just
Yeah.
know that if like I was so addicted to drugs that, you know, that I don't know how I'm alive. There's no way I should be alive, you know?
Yeah.
And I went for a while, I was like, I'm invincible. I thought I was invincible, And everyone, like I said, everyone died, And, God saved me and now that makes me understand that I have to pull these other people out of the dark place, or help pull
Yeah.
them out, And
Yeah.
dude, I was doing it wrong for the last couple of years. God just made some corrections in my life recently,
Mm-hmm.
I was like pulling guys out of AA and like giving them jobs and trying to invest in them and, human nature, humans always seem to like somehow let you down if you're, like I'm investing in them and like they're not investing in themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I could see what God's plan is for them, but they don't see it,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, okay, well, you'll come back when you're ready, but it's just, I kept getting let down and kept getting hurt. And so I pulled back from that. And then this social media thing came that, I haven't had social media in over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like 4 months ago, I just had a 21-year-old kid working for me. And he's like, you need to film what you're doing. It's hilarious. Like when you teach me how to do this stuff, you need to like post it on social media. I'm like, why? I'm like, I have a business page, but I don't even like post on it. And my wife does it like once a year. We put a picture up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'll make a page like just for you, like whatever. And so like we just came up with this name or whatever, the man training show. And like we posted a video. The second video we posted went viral, like 2 million views overnight.
Wow.
But the craziest part was the whole week before that happened, I was praying to God because I was getting frustrated with these, like I said, these guys that I was trying to help and they were
Mm-hmm.
letting me down. And I was praying to God, like, help me help people, God, like what is my calling? Like, help me find a platform to be able to reach more people and save souls and do your work for, like, I want to help more people, with what I can do, with my skill set. And that video went viral like it was literally a week later. And then the next thing you know, I have like all these followers and stuff, and people are like, you're writing me, offering for me money and all this. I'm like, whoa, 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 like this is not,
Yeah.
this isn't supposed to be happening, and then I'm praying about it. Is this the enemy trying to
Yeah.
suck me back into my old ways, and then I was like, if it is God, just shut it down, just shut it down. I don't want anything to do with it, and
Yeah.
it kept getting crazier.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's been,
God definitely works in mysterious ways. It's amazing, and there is no coincidence with God. When
yeah,
He has everything lined up, there's for a reason. There's a purpose behind it, brother. I just want to thank you so much, Derrick, for coming on here and sharing your story. I know God's going to continue to do great things in your life, brother, and I'm blessed to be able to meet you. Just continue to do what you're doing. One of the great commissions that I feel that the church has failed to do, not nothing against the church, but failed to do, is make disciples of men. And that's what you're called to do as a believer, to go and make disciples of men. And I just love what you're doing, man. We're here to support you in any way we can, brother. But I thank you. How can anybody get a hold of you if they have questions, brother, if you don't mind?
yeah, I mean, if they want to hit me up on Instagram, they can. That's probably the easiest way. It's at the Man Training Show, or through my website, McClintockBuildingCompany.com.
Okay, and we'll put it in the show notes as well, man. Well, once again, thank you, Derrick, for coming on here and sharing your story, brother.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing, brother. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you so much.